Eli wasn't expecting anything strange when he signed up for the university's space exchange program. He thought he would meet new people, maybe learn about aliens, and get free food at welcome parties. He didn't know he would end up living with one, an actual alien, in his small 2-room apartment on Earth. A girl from a planet called Zira 9, her name was Zira, and she arrived on a quiet Tuesday evening, carrying no bags, no shoes, and no smile. She was tall and thin, with silver blue skin and hair that moved slightly even when the wind didn't blow. Her eyes were the color of stars, bright, glowing and always watching. She didn't speak much at first, just nodded when Eli showed her the bedroom and bathroom. She didn't ask for food or water. Instead, she walked over to his old radio, placed her fingers on it, and it started playing without being plugged in. Eli laughed nervously and said, "Cool trick." Zira just tilted her head and said, "Electricity listens to me." That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about her strange voice, her glowing eyes, and the way the lights flickered when she walked past. He tried to act normal, watched cartoons, ate noodles, played video games, but it didn't help. She was too quiet, too still, like she didn't belong in this world. The next morning, Eli found her standing in the kitchen, staring at the toaster. The metal had melted a little, as if it had been touched by fire. Zira looked at him and said, "This device was angry." Eli blinked, confused. "Toasters can't feel anything," he said. Zira just smiled slightly, then walked away. Later that day, Eli called his friend Max. "Bro, my roommate is not normal," Eli whispered, hiding in the bathroom. "Did she eat your cat or something?" Max joked. "I don't even have a cat," Eli said. "But I think she talks to machines," Max laughed. "Man, you're lucky. My roommate just plays guitar at 3 a.m. That night, Eli tried to sleep again. He wrapped himself in a blanket and listened to calming music. But suddenly he felt something. Like someone watching him, he opened his eyes slowly. Zira was standing near the window, her face lit by the moonlight. She wasn't moving, just watching him quietly. Can I help you?" Eli asked, sitting up. Zira didn't blink. "You are changing," she said in a calm voice. Eli frowned. "What do you mean?" But she didn't answer. She turned and walked away, her feet making no sound. The next day, strange things started happening. When Eli touched the light switch, the bulb exploded. When he picked up his phone, it buzzed even when turned off. He started dreaming in a language he didn't understand. Strange symbols, stars falling, voices calling his name. In one dream, he saw Zira standing on a tall mountain, her arms raised, and behind her, a sky filled with fire. He told her about the dreams, hoping she would laugh or say it was all in his head. But she didn't. Instead, she looked serious and said, "The bond is starting." "What bond?" Eli asked. Zira didn't answer. She just touched his forehead gently, and for a second his whole body felt warm, like sunlight inside his skin. That evening, Zira didn't eat dinner. She just sat in the dark, humming softly. The air felt heavy around her, like the room was underwater. Eli wanted to ask more questions, but he was afraid of the answers. When he went to his room, he found a small crystal on his pillow. It glowed softly in the dark. Pulsing like a heartbeat, he picked it up, and a strange feeling filled his chest. Peace, sadness, and something else he couldn't explain. He looked out of his window and saw Zira on the roof. Staring at the stars, her eyes were glowing again. And Eli suddenly knew this was only the beginning. Whatever was happening between them, it was bigger than he could imagine, and soon, the whole universe would feel it too. The morning started like any other. Sunlight slipped through the curtains, warm and gentle. Eli stretched and walked to the bathroom with sleepy eyes and a towel around his neck. His alien roommate, Zira, was nowhere to be seen. He assumed she was out on the roof again, talking to stars or whatever she did when he wasn't looking. He turned on the water and stepped into the shower. The steam filled the room, making everything look like a dream. Eli stood under the warm water, eyes closed, enjoying the quiet, but the peace didn't last. The bathroom door opened with a soft click. Eli thought maybe it was just the wind, but then he heard soft footsteps, slow and quiet. He froze, still dripping with water. "Hello?" he called out, confused and embarrassed. There was no answer. He peeked out from behind the curtain, and there she was, Zira, standing in the doorway. Her silver blue eyes were wide, her face still and unreadable. She didn't seem embarrassed or surprised. She just stared, as if she was seeing something strange, something important. Eli panicked and grabbed his towel, shouting, "Zira, get out!" But she didn't move. Her eyes began to glow brighter. A soft blue light surrounded her hands. Then a pulse of energy passed through the room like a wave of static electricity. The water in the shower turned icy cold for a second, then warm again. The mirror cracked down the middle. Zira blinked as if waking from a dream. She turned slowly and left the room without a word. Eli stood in the shower, frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. What had just happened? Why didn't she look away? And what was that energy in the air? He had so many questions, but no answers. He wrapped himself in his towel and stepped into the hallway. Zira was sitting on the couch, completely calm as if nothing had happened. Eli stood in front of her, angry and confused. "You saw me. You walked in without knocking." Zira looked up slowly, her glowing eyes now dim. "I didn't mean to," she said softly. "But something triggered." "Triggered what?" he asked, his voice sharp. Zira touched her chest lightly. "The bond, it's responding now." "What bond?" Eli asked, still not understanding. Zira stood up and walked to him. When she got close, his skin tingled, like small sparks were dancing around them. "You and I are connected now," she said. "By accident, or maybe by fate." Eli took a step back. "That's crazy, I'm just a regular human." Zira tilted her head. "No, not anymore." Eli sat down, trying to catch his breath. He thought about all the strange things that had been happening. The lights flickering when he was near, the dreams in alien language. And now this, the moment in the shower had changed something. Zira walked to the window and stared at the sky. She whispered, "This shouldn't happen. Not between our kinds." Eli felt a chill down his spine. "What happens now?" he asked. Zira didn't answer right away. After a long silence, she said, "You may begin to change, slowly at first, then faster." "Change how?" Eli whispered. Zira turned around, her eyes serious now. "You'll start feeling what I feel, seeing what I see, hearing things from across the stars." "That's not possible," he said. But even he didn't believe his own words anymore. That night, Eli tried to sleep, but he kept seeing her face. Not how she looked in the shower, but how she looked after. Calm, quiet, like she was hiding something. His dreams were full of stars again, but this time he wasn't alone. He saw Zira standing beside him, holding his hand. And behind them was a giant symbol, a circle of light with a crack running through it. When he woke up, his room smelled like ozone, like after a lightning strike, and the small lamp on his desk had melted a little. He touched it carefully, it was still warm. Eli walked to the living room, and there she was, sitting cross-legged on the floor. Her eyes were closed, and she was floating a few inches above the ground. He stepped back, gasping. Zira opened her eyes and gently came down to the floor. She looked at him and said, "Your presence is changing me too." "What does that mean?" he asked. "It means," she said quietly, "we have already started a process that cannot be undone." Eli sat down on the couch, not sure whether to be afraid or amazed. Just a week ago, he was worried about school, food, and bills. Now he was bonded to an alien girl who could float, melt metal, and read the stars. And he had a strange feeling. Deep inside, this was only the beginning. Something much bigger was coming. Eli couldn't stop thinking about what Zira had said. "We have started a process that cannot be undone." The words echoed in his mind like a soft warning. He didn't understand what was happening to him or between them, but he felt it. Something was growing, something invisible yet powerful. It wasn't just the dreams anymore. Now when he walked past streetlights, they flickered. When he touched his phone, it unlocked without his fingerprint. Even his coffee machine had started brewing before he pressed any button. He sat on the couch, staring at his hands. "I'm not special," he whispered to himself. "I'm just a normal guy." But deep down, he knew normal was long gone. Zira entered the room without making a sound. She wore a long gray coat now, stitched with glowing lines across the shoulders. Her eyes studied him like he was a puzzle she couldn't quite solve. "You're adapting faster than I expected," she said calmly. Eli looked up at her. "What am I adapting to?" Zira walked closer, then sat across from him on the floor. She placed a small silver sphere between them. It floated an inch above the ground, spinning slowly. "This, all," she said, "is a memory core. It holds the instincts of my kind." Eli stared at it, unsure what to say. Zira continued, "My people bond through instinct, not choice. We don't fall in love the way humans do." Eli blinked. Who said anything about love? Zira tilted her head. Your heartbeat changed when I said that word. Eli looked away, feeling heat rise in his face. I just want to understand, he said. Zira placed her hand gently on the sphere. It glowed brighter, and soft music filled the room. Music that sounded like whispers mixed with wind and stars. This song played when two Zeroni souls met in ancient times, she said. It means we are not strangers anymore. Eli felt something stir inside him. Not fear, not confusion, something warm. Something that made him want to sit closer. He leaned forward, looking into Zira's glowing eyes. What happens if the bond completes? He asked. Zira paused, then answered. We become one mind, one feeling, one life. Eli's heart raced. That's intense, he said, trying to smile. Zira nodded. It is why my people fear it. It makes us vulnerable. Suddenly, the silver sphere flashed red and dropped to the floor. Zira stood up fast, alarm in her eyes. They're watching us now, she said. The bond has reached the outer layer. Eli stood too. Who's watching? The High Council of Orion, she whispered. They do not allow bonding with humans. The room felt colder, as if the walls were holding their breath. Eli took a step closer to her. Why? What are they afraid of? Zira looked at him, her voice soft and sad. They fear change. They fear what happens when logic meets emotion. When alien instinct meets a human heart. Later that night, Zira was outside on the roof, her eyes on the sky. Eli joined her. Carrying 2 cups of hot tea, he offered her one, and she took it with a quiet smile. The stars above them sparkled like tiny messages. Do you ever miss your home? Eli asked. Zira nodded. Every night, but lately, I dream in your colors. Eli didn't know what that meant, but it made his chest feel heavy in a good way. He sat beside her, both of them wrapped in silence. But it wasn't an empty silence, it was full of unspoken thoughts. Growing feelings, Zira turned to him. Your presence balances me, Eli. It calms the storm inside. Eli looked at her hands. Glowing slightly under the starlight, he reached out, just enough to brush his fingers against hers. When their skin touched, the rooftop lights flickered and the wind stopped. A feeling washed over him, like he wasn't just Eli anymore. He was something more, something shared. I don't know what this is, Eli whispered. But I don't want to run from it. Zira's voice was soft. Then hold on, because soon they'll try to take it away from us. Just then, Eli's phone lit up on its own. A new message appeared in an unknown language. Sharp symbols and glowing red text. He showed it to Zira. She read it and her face turned pale. They've sent a warning, she said, her voice trembling for the first time. What does it say? Eli asked. She looked at him, her eyes full of fear and defiance. It says, separation must occur within 3 moon cycles, or consequences will follow. Eli stood up, pacing. I'm not letting them take you, he said. I don't care what they are. Zira looked at him with something new in her expression, something very human. A tear slid down her cheek, glowing faintly like liquid starlight. You're not just changing me, Eli, she whispered. You're teaching me how to feel. The message stayed on Eli's phone all night, even after he turned it off and back on. The strange red symbols were still there. He tried to screenshot it, but the image turned black. He tried to show Max, but the screen went blank every time someone else looked. Only Zira could read it, and only she knew what it truly meant. The council had made contact, and they were watching that morning. Zira sat in silence on the floor, eyes closed, hands glowing softly. She said she was listening to the voices from the council. They don't speak like humans, she explained. They send thought waves, filled with commands and warnings. Eli paced the room, still holding his useless phone. So they're like space parents telling you who not to hang out with. He joked, trying to lighten the mood. Zira didn't laugh. This is serious, she said. They believe I've broken one of our most sacred laws. Eli frowned. Just by bonding with me? Zira opened her eyes. Yes, because our energy connected during a private moment, and now they believe we are too close. Eli looked away, remembering the shower, the spark between them, the strange calm that followed. He never thought one awkward accident could lead to an intergalactic investigation. Suddenly, a deep humming sound filled the room. It was low and heavy, like a ship flying overhead, but there was nothing outside. Zira stood up quickly. They're here, she said, her voice tense. Who? Eli asked, looking around. The council's voice agents, Zira whispered. They don't come in ships. They enter through signals. The radio in the corner turned on by itself. Static filled the room, followed by a strange robotic whisper. The words were not human, but Eli felt them inside his head. Not just heard, felt like emotion wrapped in metal. Zira clutched her chest, breathing hard. "They want me to cut the bond," she said. "They're offering me a clean return if I erase all contact with you." Eli's face went pale. "You're not thinking about it, are you?" Zira looked torn. "I don't want to leave." "Eli, but if I stay, they might punish both of us." Before Eli could speak, the TV turned on by itself. The screen showed static for a moment. Then a symbol appeared, 3 circles spinning inside each other. Zira gasped. "That's the seal of enforcement," she said. "They've sent a recall order." Eli's voice cracked. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said, "I have to report to them within 1 Earth day, or they'll come themselves." Eli sat down, feeling the weight of it all. Just a week ago, he was worried about exams and finding clean socks. Now he might lose the only person, no, the only being who had ever made him feel connected, truly seen, understood without words. "I won't let them take you," he said quietly. Zira looked at him, her eyes softening. "You don't understand, Eli. These aren't humans we're dealing with. They erase people from existence, not just physically, but from memory, from time. From all records." Eli stood and grabbed his jacket. "Then we run," he said. Zira blinked. "Run where?" "Anywhere they can't reach us," Eli said, his voice firm. "Somewhere beyond their signal." Zira touched the seal on the TV screen. Her fingers passed through it like water. Suddenly, a new voice filled the room. It was clear, calm and full of power. "Zira of House Vayon, you are summoned for disconnection. Failure to appear will result in enforcement." Zira stepped back. Trembling slightly, Eli reached for her hand. "You said our bond is real," he whispered. She nodded. "It is." "Then don't let them break it," he said. Zira turned to the window and opened it. She pulled a silver disc from her coat and threw it into the air. A beam of blue light shot upward, forming a swirling circle, a hidden portal. "My safe zone," she said. "Outside their reach for now. Will you take me with you?" Eli asked. Zira looked at him, then slowly nodded. "The moment we step through, you'll leave Earth behind," she warned. Eli took one last look around his apartment. The broken lamp, the burned coffee machine, the half-eaten sandwich. Then he looked at Zira, glowing softly like a star in human shape, and he smiled. "I already left Earth the moment you walked into my life." Together, they stepped into the portal for a brief second. Eli felt everything, the stars, the weight of time, the heat of her energy. Then it all faded. They landed in a new place, red skies, floating rocks, silent air. Eli fell to his knees. Gasping, Zira helped him up. "This is my exile zone," she said. "I hit it long ago, in case I ever needed to run." Eli looked around at the alien sky. He could still hear a faint voice from the council in the back of his mind. A final whisper. "You cannot hide forever. The bond will lead us to you." Zira touched his shoulder. "They'll keep coming," she said. Eli nodded. "Then we'll keep fighting." The wind on the other side of the portal was not like Earth's. It was heavy, slow, and smelled like burned metal and flowers. Eli dropped to his knees, coughing, trying to catch his breath. The ground under him was soft and purple. Like a giant sponge, Zira stood beside him, calm, her silver blue hair floating around her like smoke. "This place," she said softly, "is between 2 realities." Eli looked up at her with wide eyes. Where are we?" Zira raised her arm and pointed toward the glowing red sky. "We're on the moon of a dead world," she said. "No council signals can reach here." All around them were floating rocks. Slowly circling a mountain in the distance, there was no sun. But everything glowed faintly, like the place was lit by old memories. Strange shapes moved in the sky, like giant jellyfish made of glass, drifting with grace. Eli slowly stood up, still dizzy. "Why does it feel like I've been here before?" he whispered. Zira turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Because your soul remembers," she said. Eli laughed nervously. "You make it sound like I've lived 2 lives." Zira looked away, her voice quiet. "Maybe you have." They walked through a field of glowing stones, their steps making soft music beneath them. Zira led him to an ancient-looking structure made of crystal and bone. Inside there were carvings, symbols, faces, star maps, and something that made Eli stop. On the wall was a large image carved into the stone. It showed a glowing woman holding hands with a human. The man in the carving had short, messy hair and a small scar on his chin. Eli touched his own face, feeling the same scar. Zira stood beside him in silence. "That's you," she said. Eli's hands trembled. "What does this mean?" Zira walked to the center of the room and touched a raised stone. A beam of light burst out and formed a spinning hologram of stars. "This place holds the history of my bloodline," she said. "We were born from energy, bonded to protect balance in the galaxy." She looked at Eli, her voice heavy with truth. "I am the last of my kind." Eli felt something in his chest. A deep pull, like gravity made of emotion. Zira stepped closer. "The reason you were able to bond with me, Eli, is because you're not just human." Eli shook his head. "No, I was born on Earth. I have baby pictures, school ID cards. I'm not—" Zira placed her fingers on his heart. "Your body is Earth-born, but your essence was forged long ago." Eli's vision blurred. Flashes of stars, burning skies, and silver towers filled his mind. He saw himself dressed in armor, holding a sword made of light, standing beside a younger version of Zira. Then it all vanished. He stumbled back, gasping. "What was that?" he asked. "A memory from before your Earth life," Zira said. "They buried your past to protect you." Suddenly, the ground shook. A wave of red energy pulsed through the air like a scream. Zira grabbed Eli's arm, her eyes wide with panic. "They found us." Eli looked out through the crystal walls. A tear in the sky was opening, dark and long like a wound. From it came a shadowy ship, shaped like a spider with wings of light. Zira's face turned cold. "That's an enforcer," she said. "They didn't wait. They're here to end us." Eli's heart pounded. "What do we do?" Zira pulled out the glowing crystal from her coat. The same one she had once left on his pillow. She pressed it to his chest, and it sank into his skin like water. "What are you doing?" Eli asked, panic rising. "Sharing my core energy with you," she said. "It may give you the power to defend us." "But I don't know how to use anything," Eli said. Stepping back, Zira looked at him, her voice soft but firm. "You'll remember when you need it most." The sky outside cracked open and the ship began descending. Eli looked up, breathing hard. "What if I fail?" Zira touched his face. "Then we fall together." Suddenly, the symbols on the crystal walls lit up. Eli's hands started glowing. His veins filled with golden light. Something ancient had awakened, not just in his body, but in his soul. He looked at the approaching enforcer ship and felt no fear. He stepped forward. The old instinct was returning. He wasn't just Eli from Earth anymore. He was something more, a bridge between species, a force that even the Council couldn't control. Eli stood at the edge of the ancient ruins. The air shimmered around him like a dream slipping through fingers. His heart beat in rhythm with the crystal now glowing inside his chest. It pulsed with warmth, power, and something else he didn't know how to name. Something that felt like her. Zira stood behind him, watching quietly. She didn't speak right away. She looked at the symbols on the stone wall, the ones showing a human and a Zironi standing side by side. "I didn't believe it when I was younger," she said softly. "I thought those stories were myths." Eli turned to her. "What stories?" Zira stepped closer, her fingers brushing the wall like it was sacred. "That one day a Zironi would bond with a human," she said. "Not by accident, but by destiny." Eli felt the wind shift. "Why me?" he asked. "I mean, I'm not a warrior. I'm not even brave most of the time." Zira smiled slightly. "You didn't need to be brave to connect with me," she said. "You just had to be real." She sat down on one of the flat stones, motioning for him to sit too. "The bond is not just energy," she said. "It's trust, feeling, memory, something deeper than DNA." Eli sat beside her. "So this thing between us, it's not a mistake." Zira shook her head. "It's rare," she whispered, "but not wrong." She touched the glowing mark on his chest where her crystal had fused with him. "You've awakened parts of me I didn't know existed," she said. "Emotions my kind usually hide." Eli looked into her eyes. "I feel it too," he admitted. "Like I've known you longer than I've been alive." Zira closed her eyes for a moment. "When two energies match like this, they become one," she said. "It's called a soul merge in our oldest language." "That sounds serious," Eli said, his voice low. "It is," she replied. "Once merged, one cannot live without the other for long." Eli's chest tightened. Wait, are you saying if something happens to one of us? Zira nodded slowly. The other would fade. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of floating crystals in the air. Eli ran a hand through his hair. This was just supposed to be an apartment roommate program, he said. Trying to laugh, Zira smiled faintly. And yet, here we are, two souls bonded beyond reason. Suddenly, a sharp pain hit Eli's head. He grabbed his temples, falling to his knees. Images exploded in his mind, flashes of war, fire, screaming stars. He saw himself in armor again. Holding a shattered weapon, Zira appeared beside him in the vision. Her eyes glowing bright white as she screamed his name. Zira rushed to him in real time. She placed her hand on his forehead and whispered in her native tongue. The pain stopped like someone had switched off a storm. Eli gasped for air. What was that? Zira looked shaken. You're remembering the final battle, she said. The one that ended our ancient world. But how can I remember something I never lived? Eli asked. Because your spirit lived it, Zira answered. Before Earth, before time as you know it. Eli stood slowly, his legs still shaking. So this bond, it's not just feelings, he said. It's memory, history, legacy. Zira nodded. Yes, and now that it's reactivated, the Council will never let it survive. Eli looked at her. What do we do? We fight, she said without hesitation. Fight how? He asked. They have ships, weapons, power. What do we have? Zira reached into her coat and pulled out a glowing blade made of crystal. We have truth, she said, and love strong enough to shake a galaxy. Just then, the sky above them cracked again. The Enforcer ship had returned, this time with more light, more noise and more fury. Eli stepped in front of Zira. I won't let them take you. Zira touched his shoulder. No, she said. We protect each other now. Their crystals began to glow together, hers in her palm, his in his chest. They pulsed in perfect sync. The ruins lit up with the same energy. Walls humming, air vibrating, symbols moving. The temple had recognized their bond. A voice echoed from the sky, one that was deep and ancient. Unlawful bond detected, it said. Separation begins now. Zira held out her hand. If we merge fully, we gain power, but we lose our individual selves. Eli looked at her. Do you trust me? Zira's eyes softened. With all that I am, their hands met. Light exploded around them like a second sun. The bond wasn't broken. It was completed. The sky above the ancient ruins exploded with light. Colors twisted like fire and ice swirling into a vortex. The Enforcer ship hovered above, its weapons glowing, ready to strike below. Eli and Zira stood hand in hand, surrounded by a storm of energy. Their crystals pulsed in sync. Two hearts fused across species, time and fate. From the ship, a voice echoed once more. Separation is required. Failure to comply will result in erasure. But Eli didn't step back, and neither did Zira. They stood firm, glowing brighter, bound not just by accident but by choice, and in that choice, something awakened, not a weapon, not a shield, but a force older than the Council itself. The ruins trembled as ancient carvings lifted into the air. The floating stones began to orbit the pair like moons around a new sun. Eli looked around, feeling the pull of a million forgotten memories. He wasn't just Eli from Earth anymore. He was something else, something reborn. Zira's voice cut through the chaos. I feel them watching, she said. Every council eye. Every judge across the galaxies, Eli nodded. Then let them see, he said. Let them see what real connection looks like. Suddenly, beams of light shot down from the ship. Zira raised her palm and created a shimmering shield of energy. Eli focused, and to his surprise, he saw the energy lines in the air like invisible threads. He reached out and with just a thought redirected the beams away. They hit the floating rocks and shattered like glass. The ship paused, confused. Then a new voice echoed, deeper, colder. Eli of Earth, you are now linked to a level 7 entity. Your presence is disrupting balance. Eli stepped forward, glowing like a star. I don't want to disrupt balance, he said. I want to fix what's broken. The ship lowered slowly, a platform descended, and a tall figure emerged. It wasn't human, nor fully Zeroni, something in between, wrapped in white light and shadow. I am Speaker Veillon, the being said. Chosen voice of the High Council, Zira gasped. He's my mother's brother, she whispered. They sent him to finish it quietly. Vayon raised a hand. Zira, you were meant to lead in silence, not fall in love with a human. Zira stepped beside Eli. Maybe silence was the mistake, she said. Maybe love is louder than rules. Vayon looked at Eli, his eyes unreadable. You stand at the edge of galactic law. Eli, he said, one step further and you'll make history or chaos. Eli didn't hesitate. Then I'll step, he said, and held Zira's hand tighter. There was a pause, a long stillness. Then Vayon said, Very well. Make your final declaration. Eli took a breath. I choose her, he said clearly. Not because she's perfect, not because she's human, but because we understand each other. He looked at Zira. And in a universe full of war, rules, and fear? That understanding means everything. Zira placed her other hand over Eli's heart. I choose him, she said, not because I was told to, but because I feel him inside every thought, every breath. The ancient structure around them pulsed. The carvings shifted into new shapes. A new bond was recorded into the ruins, one that had never existed before. The bond of equals, not rulers, not soldiers, not species, just souls. Vayon closed his eyes. I cannot erase what has become a truth, he said. But truth always comes with a cost. With a wave of his hand, the Enforcer ship powered down. The sky began to clear. The storm faded, but before leaving, he spoke one last time. The Council will not celebrate this, but they will watch. And if you become a danger, they will act, Zira nodded. Then we'll give them something worth watching. As the ship vanished into the stars, Eli and Zira stood alone beneath the glowing sky. The air was quiet, but their hearts were louder than ever. They had made their choice not just to survive, but to be together days later. They returned to Earth in secret, blending back into human life. Eli told no one where he had been, but sometimes when he walked past electronics, they flickered gently, and sometimes Zira would hum a song only stars could understand. In the silence of their small apartment, between ramen noodles and movie nights, they built a new kind of future, one not controlled by fear but guided by trust, by truth, and by a love powerful enough to change the stars.